The DG Coffee Talk, wisdom over coffee beans.
So, okay, first we have to cheer with our coffee. Zoom cheer. It's called Zoom cheer. So, Sheila, tell everybody where you at.
I'm at one of my favorite spots at Lake Hefner. I had a friend introduce me to this place. It's 5 minutes at most from my house, and I didn't even know. I lived here at the house for 4 years before I knew about this place, and so I always feel closest to God in places of nature. Like I grew up going to Baptist churches, and so I went to Falls Creek, and I don't know that I should say all that, but that's what it is. And like, so there's the prayer garden up, and you can look over some mountain ranges here in Oklahoma. And that was my favorite place to ever go. Just to see creation. Like there's just something about creation that just puts me in his presence and just brings a peace to my soul. So, and right now I have 5 kids in my house, and I've had them for pretty much a week or more than a week now. So I have 3 of my own, but I have extra kids regularly. And it's fantastic, but I'm with the kids and the animals, I was just like, I'm going to be way distracted, or they're going to ask me 1,500 questions. And so like, I'm just going to go out and do this meeting and have my coffee at the lake this morning. So
Exactly. You make it work as a mom. That's just like you don't have options. You
no,
just make it work.
single moms make it work. All moms make it work. But
I
when
know.
you can't be like, here, take the kids, distract them. You get super creative.
I just have one kid, and I told her, Mommy needs to be busy, and you need to be quiet, and you need to take care of yourself, do whatever you want, and I will come to you when I'm done.
When I just have 1 or 2 at the house, I can do that. But when there's 5 of them,
Oh,
like
yeah.
inevitably someone does something wrong or triggers a meltdown. And then I have to intervene, or I'm like, good. I did this the other day. I was in a meeting and they were heading the screen, and I was just like, in a meeting, thank you. So
Yeah, I cannot imagine. Maybe it's a good time for us to talk about emotions.
So it's actually kind of funny. I've always told my kids, but before I even knew that there was a story before the emotion, I always have told my kids, my emotion is not your responsibility. Like, you can't make me angry. You can't make me anything. That's on me. I didn't know the logic behind it. I didn't know the anything behind it. I just didn't ever want my kids to think I made mom mad and mom's behaving this way because of me. And
a guilt trap.
yeah, and because it's not their fault. It's my emotion is not their fault. And I didn't want them to ever carry that burden of I have to behave a certain way, or mom's not going to love me, or mom this or that. Like, I didn't want that to be something they needed therapy for when they grow up. And so even a couple nights ago, I didn't feel well, and my youngest came in and she's asking me things, and I get really upset because she's asking me about school stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know. Or she wanted to get somewhere, and I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you've done your school. You say you've done your school, but I don't know that you have. Well, and so I'm short and snippy with her, and she comes back a few minutes later and she's like, Mom, I'm sorry I made you mad. And I was like, once again, we go through the conversation, and I invited her into my room, and she just sat next to me on my bed, and I was like, Evie, you can't make me mad. Like, and I had time to think of what fueled that anger. Like I am not a super controlling parent. And so it wasn't the fact that I didn't that she might have been lying to me about doing school, or she didn't have it done. I was mad because I had so much on my plate lately, or I didn't manage my time well enough to verify that they were getting school done. And so I was mad at myself for not being on top of everything. And so I had to explain that to my almost 8-year-old child that, mommy's mad at mommy. Mommy's not mad at you. Like, these are my expectations of myself, and I failed my own expectation, and I'm angry about that. And I'm sorry that I made you feel like you caused anger. So, and then, so to find out that, there is a story. So then I have to take time, and that takes me a long time, like, to figure out what is the story that happened that made me respond in such frustration. And so it's definitely a learning curve for me, like the whole crucial conversation. Like, how do I get to a point where I can have a crucial conversation when it takes me 30 minutes to figure out what triggered my emotion? So
That's
so
the same
yeah,
to
like,
everyone. Yeah, but I think it doesn't happen very often the way you teach your kids. Because a lot of the people by nature, they don't want to take responsibility for their own negative emotions. So it's always somebody else's fault. You make me feel that way. You treat me that way. That's why I'm doing this way. But I think that's a very responsible way, and to teach a model in front of your kids, the right way to interpret people's emotions. And it's not about you. And no wonder so many people, especially women, grew up, become people pleaser, right? I mean, just like, because they always feel, oh, I make that person feel bad. I have to make her feel better again. Like it's my fault, and then we just burden ourselves and feel bad about ourselves all the time. So that's why it's very essential to have the crucial conversation. And I'm glad you introduced me to chapter 6. I just want to share more about this chapter. I think the first thing that caught my eye was master the story, master my story. So that kind of tells me that's a goal for the chapter, to master your story. And so then I had a revelation. I was just like, you know what? Everybody is a storyteller. Whether you are a good storyteller, telling yourself good stories, or you are a bad storyteller, tell your bad story, and then you behave better or you behave worse. So it's like, that's right. And there was a story about Mariah in this book, and kind of started to present you, how we can figure out the story is before the emotions. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna go through this, because in case some other people don't, can you hear me well though? Because I changed my earbuds.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
So Mariah and Louis, they are co-workers. They work in the same office. They have been working hard on the project for a while, and then come up a lot of, brilliant points to talk to their boss. And when they are presenting this to their boss, and Mariah just, Louis, both of them, Louis is a guy, Mariah is a girl, and Mariah was just taking a break from presenting. And what she sees is Louis jumped back to the conversation, the presentation, and took over and tell the CEO all the great points that they worked hard to come up together. And so Mariah felt like, I would feel like, oh, somebody took my thunder. I worked very hard too. And then because when the CEO turned to Mariah, do you have anything else to say? Because there's nothing left to say, because Louis took all the points. But because she has been felt that way, that she felt like she's the only girl of the team. And that's why Lewis has treated her that way because she's the only girl. I guess that's part of the insecurity as well. But she decided she's not gonna say anything to the CEO because that will super sensitive at work is not very good, And so she decided to play her professional silence, say nothing, but she still have that thing, the story boiling inside of her. So when it come out, it was not good. It was rather sarcastic and cheap shots here and there. And Lewis noticed that, the attitude, the words she says, and offended him as well. He didn't know what's going on with this girl. Like, I work so hard with you. And but their relationship degenerated as I go by. Basically, if you don't take control of the emotion, everything gets bad. Is there anything you remember that I didn't cover?
There was a part that talks about going to facts. So she had this emotion based on the story she told herself. And so everyone in the room would be able to say, yes, Lewis presented 95% of the information and she only presented 5%. But not everyone in the room would have come to the same conclusion that he did it out of because thought he was better than her, or that she wasn't enough, or whatever her insecurities were, the story that she had told herself. So it just, to get to that source of the story, or to work to changing the story, I talked about finding facts that everyone in the room could observe, that you can see, hear, touch, versus just your interpretation of its situation.
Mm-hmm. I remember the book indicate that the dangerous part is Mariah makes all that assumptions and think they are true, they are reality, and everybody agree with her. Mm-hmm. That everybody will think the same way she think it is. And that's the part that the story was originally just assumption that did not really based on exact facts, but then turned into reality in her head. And that's why her behavior was driven by her thoughts that she think it's a reality right here. Mm-hmm. So that's a part, that's the book, the chapter said, one of the claim, that's why it's that your emotion doesn't, let me see, your emotion doesn't just happen. That's what it said. And you created your emotions. Others don't make you mad. You make yourself scared, annoyed, or insulted. And that's claim 1. And claim 2 is once the emotion is created, you only have 2 choices. You act on them or be acted on by them. In other words, you whether find a way to master them or fall hostage to them. I think this example, Mariah fell hostage to the strong emotion she was feeling about at work. I mean, that story, it's at work, but we can relate it to that story just from our personal life. And yeah, go ahead.
We were talking earlier before we officially started our conversation about how I see myself doing that relationally, coming up with a story, or even just staying in silence. That was one of the things earlier in the book that it talked about that Mariah was doing, which she was staying in silence. And you can't add to the conversation pool or information pool. I can't remember exactly what the book refers it as. Meaning pool, maybe. If you stay in silence, so you're willingly withholding information that could contribute to the conversation or the relationship, at whatever level of relationship. And so your silence leads you to those sarcastic comments. And instead of just saying, hey, this is how I feel, or this is what I thought, is this true? And that's what happened, is she didn't go to him. And I think it mentioned maybe Lewis was insecure and felt pressured to perform and bring it all to the table. But I don't think we really get his side of what happened, but she never considered those. Those weren't the stories she was telling herself. And so sitting in silence, because we respond in either silence or violence, as the book talks about. And so sitting in silence causes you to respond in sarcasm and those hurtful things that you just throw out there. And I totally identify with that. And so I was very thankful for that specific example in the book, because it made me more mindful of, okay, so when I'm doing this, what have I not brought to the table to resolve? And so it's allowed me to have crucial conversations that previously there was just no way I could have had. So yeah, this book has been just amazing. I don't even remember how I watched some webinar that suggested it or referenced it, and some of our teammates have also read the book, and so I was like, I think I'm going to read this, or I plan to read this, and was encouraged by other people on our team, like, yeah, that's a really good book. And my best friend Sammy, who works with us, she and I have been able to talk about it because she's read it, and it's been cool because I can see in places that she's implemented that since she's read the book. Like not knowing that, that's where it had come from. And so the book is just phenomenal, and just the growth that I personally have had and have seen in other people from reading it. It's just super cool.
When I was reading that simple story at work story, and I had a confession too, because when you said their book didn't say a lot about Lewis's side, and in reality, I have been Lewis at one time, and it was like back to college, and I have to do a team group presentation with another girl from South Korea. So both of us are from international and stuff like that. And she has brilliant points. And we work hard and put the PowerPoint and everything, like when we're presenting, and we also carry out a real-time question and answers with the audience, which is other classmates. And a lot of other classmates couldn't understand her accent very well. So they keep asking. And I just felt like a responsibility of taking over, because I felt like she might be embarrassed that every time they have to repeat, what did you say? And I was like, well, if I said her points, I'll just save everybody's time and embarrassment, So I took over, and every time they asked, oh, blah, 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 blah. and then I thought I helped her, with that situation, because we will be graded, and it's time that it's better we finish it up on time and let people understand our points, we move on. But after that team project, she quit working with me. Like, she didn't even want to talk to me. She didn't want to, she just there's a code. Like, even I say hi, so now I've, just kind of the memory came back. You know what? She's a Mariah, I'm the Lewis. I thought I was helping her, and then she said, I'm stealing all the thunder. I'm making her, probably she felt like I'm making her even look worse because I'm taking over. So yikes. And then we never had a conversation after that, and that relationship, that friendship, just gone forever.
Yeah, I think that just magnifies the need, or brings more attention to the fact that there is a need for us to learn how to have crucial conversations. And because it's not something that's natural for most people, it's not something that's generally taught places, but it's desperately needed. And just how much progress can be made having the tools that the book talks about.
I think I got some points about the solutions that the book talk about, which we'll dig more in the next episode. You have to, in order to act your strong emotions, you have to do by thinking them out. Basically, you rethink, like, is this story I'm telling myself, is it real? Is just my perspective? Did I check the facts? Did I ask the person? Is that what she or he meant, to communicate? And then it's that you choose your emotions. So even with a lot of confusion or maybe doubts or even upset, you can still choose your emotions. You still have a second chance, to stop the wrecking ball, I guess, start coming. And by doing so, it's thinking them out, choose your emotion. By doing so, you make it possible to choose the behavior that create better results. I guess we just always have to keep that mind, the goal in our mind. The goal is to create better results.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I can't wait to talk more about how do we get there.
Awesome. One of the key points from the beginning of the book throughout is it starts with heart. And when your conversation starts with heart, then you continue to return to what you really want. The end goal of this conversation, the end goal of is for mutual benefit. And so, yes, when we start with heart and we return to heart, we're more successful.
Mm-hmm. And I like the quote that it said, it's not how you play the game, it's how the game plays you, like in the beginning. And I'm going to end today's discussion with this that's popped up in my mind this morning. Remember, people say when life gives you lemon, you make lemonade. So after this chapter, I said, when life gives you emotions, check your story. So
I love it.
So that's all for our conversation today. And thank you, Sheila, meeting us at the beautiful lakeside. And can't wait to talk more.
Absolutely.